Hey, good morning. It's Big Rob here, just a guy over 40. I'm up a little early on a Sunday. It's the 23rd. My son's birthday. He's turning 18 today, and so I thought I'd get up, give him a call. He's been working a lot at a tire place, but a special day for him. His 18th birthday. I dropped off some gifts to him a few days ago, and I was down in Denver picking up my little girl. Just chilling out on Sunday, drinking some coffee out of my Declaration of Independence coffee cup, brought to you live from the Liberty Bell gift shop in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Did a visit there several years ago with a gal I was dating at the time. And that was our thing. Kind of, we'd just get on a plane and fly to a city and hang out for a couple days and then go back to Denver. But the reason I'm here today to talk about this issue that I've had for a while. Guys over 40, guys over 50, guys over 60 have some trouble, I think, talking about health issues. And so what I want to do as a nurse with 2 decades of experience and an old EMT with less experience at that, talk to you a little bit about CPAP and sleep studies and things of that nature. Now, those of you who know me, you know that I'm not a small dude, and I haven't been a small dude for a number of years. I think there were a couple of times a few years back where I trimmed down to less than 200 pounds, and most people thought I had cancer. So I'm up to probably about 285, 295 at 5'11", so I got a bit of a gut. I still lift the heavy weights, but not as much cardio, hardly any cardio, to be honest with you. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is obviously time, but moreover, breathing. Breathing's been a bit of trouble for me up here in Cheyenne. We're at about 6,200 feet, and breathing has been a bit of a struggle. If I don't do like try to run or any of those kinds of things, I'm usually okay. But ellipticals and the types of low impact machines that are available at Gold's where I train, I usually do okay with those. Warm up a little bit, the stationary bike, that kind of thing. Got a treadmill. I got a spinner bike in the garage, and of course a halfway decent complement of weights and a bench and chin-up bar, things like that. I don't do chin-ups because I'm too fat. But anyway, at the behest of my fiance, some time back in April or May of this year, I went and had a sleep study done. Now, to qualify that, for a number of months or even years, I've been waking up with headaches, a little bit of shortness of breath, just a generalized feeling of poor sleep. Sometimes I would sleep during the day. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, I was in a class for work and fell asleep right in front of the instructor. So pretty embarrassing stuff, but I don't mind talking about it because, I'm just a guy over 50. So long and the short of it was I had this sleep study done, and I'm still paying for that. And I think I ended up paying out of pocket like $1,200 or something. So, but it answered some questions for me, and brought some serious issues to light. So, for example, when a guy over 50 is having chest pain, that's not something that should be ignored. I've been ignoring it, and waking up every day with just kind of a heaviness on my chest, and thinking to myself, geez, this is not normal. But I take my baby aspirin, and I take my blood pressure pills. I'm on 2, and normally I feel okay about an hour or so after that. But the sleep study revealed some things that I found rather alarming. And so one of the things it does is it can tell which side of your body that you're sleeping on. It can tell when you're in REM sleep. It can tell when you're breathing, obviously, when you're not breathing. And, it has little line segments on there for when you're in REM and when you're not. And most people, that's where we develop our thoughts and repair our brains and dream, is in REM sleep. And if you're not getting that, then chances are pretty good that your brain is not experiencing its full potential. So the other part of that is that there's a couple different kinds of sleep apnea. There's a sort of obstructive sleep apnea that you get because your glottis is dropping down and blocking your airway, and it's usually because a variety of things. For me, it's because I'm just too big, and so but for some people it's just gravity. Some people just have these malformations in their glottis or in their airway and stuff, and then early in life it usually doesn't bother them, but later in life can become a problem for them. So Anyway, during my sleep study, some of the results were rather alarming. There was a period of time, actually 2 periods of time, I think, where I wasn't breathing for well over 90 seconds. And so my O2 saturations dropped from, normally for me, they're about 91, 92%, sometimes even as high as 94% if I'm focused on it and focused on breathing. But for normal people, they hover in the low 90s. And so, especially if you live at altitude. For me, normally it's 92, maybe even 93%, maybe 91%, something like that. But during the periods where I stopped breathing, my O2 saturations dropped as low as 66%. Brain damage, that would be tantamount to being underwater and having some damage done to your brain. And so that happened twice during my sleep study, such that the technician came in to wake me up. And so right about the time it began, I guess it was about 9 o'clock, around 12 or so was when the guy was slapping the CPAP mask on me. And initially, I fought it. And what's interesting is that I felt very claustrophobic. And I felt like it was just blowing this rush of air in my face. And I didn't like the harness. I didn't like the face mask. It was one of the big ones that kind of go over you like this, you know. And I had the goatee and all that, so there was some leaking and alarming and things of that nature. But what was remarkable was after she showed me on the test is after the technician had put the CPAP mask on me, in less than 10 minutes I had drifted off into REM sleep. And so my O2 saturations were about in the middle. He bled in a little bit of oxygen, like a liter or two of oxygen for me. But my O2 saturations were fine. I drifted into REM sleep, you know, in less than 10 or 15 minutes. And that's where I stayed until the test was over. So interesting stuff in terms of sleep quality, sleep hygiene. I know we talked about a lot of sleep hygiene issues while I was in the Army because there was no such thing as sleep hygiene then. There were no research about it. There was nobody talked about it, that kind of stuff. Anyway, after having the shocking results to me, read to me from the sleep study, we talked about CPAP. And so the reference range for me, if you're familiar at all with CPAP, the amount of pressure is measured in centimeters of water, and it's the amount of pressure necessary to move X amount of water 1 or 2 centimeters up a manometer. So my reference range was 6 to 16. Now high CPAP is 10, 15, maybe even 20. I've seen patients in hospitals with CPAP at 20 on ventilators and stuff, tracheostomies and things of that nature. But those are patients that have been, you know, sick for a relatively long period of time and, you know, really rough lungs. But so 6 to 16 was where they stuck me on the CPAP. And I'm not currently getting any oxygen bled into the system, but we're working on maybe doing some of that later on. So we went over the machine itself, talked a little bit about what to expect from it. It's small, it's quiet, it's compact, has a little reservoir for distilled water. It has a heater in the tube, so it heats the tube, it heats itself. So I get room air delivered to me with a pressure at about 74, 75 degrees. The other part of that is that it starts at about 6 centimeters of pressure, and then ramps itself up a little bit depending on what my needs are. So if I start out and I'm really kind of struggling a little bit, it'll actually kick up and give me more, and then as I relax throughout the night, it'll kick down and give me less pressure, and basically it tailors it to my needs. I have a long piece of tubing that I breathe in and out of, and a strap that goes around my nose with these pillows. And so it basically goes over my nose, and these pillows just kind of drift in here. And the only problem I've had with it so far, just a little bit of soreness here. So it works really well in terms of functionality. It's quiet. I don't hear a whole lot out of it while it's operating. So the first night that I used it was not last night, but the night before. And it was a bit of a struggle. I had actually pulled it off once or twice in the middle of the night, and don't remember doing that, but my fiance was like, wake me up and say, hey, put your CPAP back on, you're snoring. So I put it on, and I woke up yesterday morning, not so much feeling refreshed, but feeling like I had slept as good as I could sleep in a long time. And so I think I slept probably for a solid 6 hours, Didn't really move a lot, didn't jostle around. That's something that I've been doing, been pretty restless at night. And that's part of the obstructive sleep apnea, is feeling like if you go to sleep, someone's strangling you in your sleep, that kind of thing. So I slept in one spot night before last. Woke up feeling, like I said, like I'd gotten some sleep, like legitimate sleep, like I hadn't in quite some time. And then throughout the day, I went through my normal routine. I had the kids, my daughter and my fiance's daughter with me yesterday, and things went really well. I was calm, awake. I didn't feel like I needed a nap in the afternoon like I had been for years. Most of the time I'd love to lay down in the afternoon and just crash for a little while. Excuse me. Speaking of sleeping. But I didn't feel like I needed that yesterday, and so it worked out really well, and I feel like the machine itself is working really well. Last night, a little bit of an issue with the nose pillows. So I put it on. Just all you have to do is turn this thing on, and it ramps up and it starts doing its thing, and you put it on over your nose and put the strap over your head, and you're on your way. It's a very light hose mechanism, not much to it. But the nose pillows themselves, they just sort of rest inside of your nostrils. I didn't know last night one of the complications from using this machine is that the pillows can kind of fold over, and so the hole that you would be breathing in and out of becomes about half the size it was. And you know this because it's almost like breathing through a straw. It's very uncomfortable. But if you make some adjustments, the pillows themselves will actually pop out and stick in your nose like they're supposed to. And then you shouldn't even really, other than the strap over your head and a little bit of something on your face, you shouldn't even really know that it's there. It should be very easy to breathe through. Again, put it on last night about 11 o'clock and slept essentially in one position for 6 hours, just kind of moving back and forth a little bit. But I didn't have the choking episodes. I didn't have the headache this morning. I didn't have the joint and bone pain that I've had in the past. I wasn't restless at all. I felt like I got some pretty good sleep. Woke up this morning. Took a little while to get going, but again, I feel like I spent a lot more time in REM sleep last night than I have in a while. I remember some of my dreams rather vividly, and that's okay. And things that I haven't, experiences I haven't had since sleeping for a number of years. And so, if your girl, the end of this is that if your girl or your family is saying, hey, look, you snore, go get the sleep study, guys. I know they're expensive depending on your insurance. If you're at the VA and you're willing to wait that process out, I think you can get them for free or relatively inexpensively. If you're private insurance or government insurance, there's a waiting time. But go out and get that sleep study, and you might find out some pretty amazing things about what's going on while you're trying to sleep. The other part of that is that, since I've been using this last 2 nights, no chest pain, no shortness of breath in the morning, no gasping for air in the morning, no feeling like I was congested, or I've spent a number of mornings, mostly because we've had some fires here in northern Colorado and parts of Wyoming, and the air quality has been shit, and so I've been having some struggles with the breathing and that kind of thing. But in the last couple of days, there's been no chest pain, no shortness of breath, no headaches, no none of that. And so the CPAP for me has been a godsend, and I'm telling you, man, if you're a dude over 40, you're a dude over 50, you're a little heavy, you've been powerlifting, you've been wrestling, you've been eating a lot, lifting those big weights and stuff, man. If you're feeling like you're having these symptoms, Google them, obstructive sleep apnea. See if that fits in. Go to your doctor, tell them what's going on, say, hey, maybe I need a sleep study. Get it. Show up for it. It's not as challenging as you would think it is, but get it, show up for it, get the results, read the results, believe the results, and then go from there. If you need a CPAP, get a CPAP. If you need just a little bit of oxygen, get some oxygen. There's no shame in it, and if you're with somebody who's bothered by that, well, it's just an adjustment you guys got to make. So anyway, this is Rob, Big Rob, just a guy over 50, got a new CPAP, feeling better. More to follow. I'm going to be doing another video on vasectomies, testosterone replacement therapy, and a few other subjects that are sensitive for guys my age. and hopefully we'll get some good information out there and get rid of some of the stigmas that are out there about some of that kind of stuff. And